Hi, good evening, Pearson. Good evening to
First,
you and your audience.
thank you. First of all, your overall assessment of the economic review. What do you think?
Yes, so certainly, if one looks at the numbers being reported here today, this is as strong an economic report as we have seen for the Barbados economy in 20 plus years. So if we look at the overall economy, the most widely used metric there is the growth in real GDP. So for the first 6 months, 4.5, that's above the first 6 month average for Barbados, so very strong overall. Some other key metrics, inflation at 2.7%, that has been running as high as 5-6%. The unemployment rate is also down. If we look at the public finances, again, the government is running a bigger primary surplus, again, which is excellent. Foreign exchange reserves at 3.2 billion, up again. The debt to GDP is down to 105.3%. Again, significant improvements from being as high as somewhere around 170%. And the financial sector is quite robust with, with capital adequacy and non-performing loans, again, showing robust performance. So quite a stellar report. So again, if one looks at these numbers, it would be difficult to give a grade other than an A.
Now, that's for you, the economist, but the home economist wants to know with this drop in inflation, how is that passed on in terms of savings? How soon can they expect to see the change in their spending patterns?
So I think you're raising an important question. So these are macro fundamentals. But how does this feel or what do people experience? So the inflation rate is down to 2.7%, but that does not mean that prices are going to fall. Huh? A lower inflation rate means that prices will continue to rise, but they're going to rise at a lower rate. So I don't think consumers should be holding their breath and expect prices to come down, because it's important to understand what these metrics mean. You know, the inflation rate is the rate of change in prices on average. So once you have a positive inflation rate above zero, it implies that prices are going to rise. It being 2.7% compared to the higher figures in recent years just means that it's going to rise at a lower rate on average.
The governor expressed some concern that private business is not investing as much as he would like to see into the economy. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the interesting issues you're raising. I have had the honor and pleasure of serving as a director of the central bank since 2008. And one of the interesting aspects of where we are now is that the economy is recording, I think, 13 consecutive quarters of positive growth. By a number of indicators, the economy is doing extremely well. But I've never had to work as hard to convince people that the economy is doing well. So there certainly seems to be a disconnect between these numbers and how the average man on the street, so to speak, is feeling and what is happening in terms of business confidence. And I guess I have some thoughts on some ideas as to what may be happening there. So again, one is the inflation. I often say for the consumers, people experience the economy in the supermarket and the labor market. So prices are still high. We've come off a very high period, so consumers are still not seeing their dollar stretch. In the labor market, we're seeing the unemployment rate come down, but also one of the interesting points in the report is that the labor force is shrinking. You know, the percentage of the number of persons in Barbados who are seeking work and actively employed, that number is falling. So it means that there are a significant number of persons who are of eligible age to be in the workforce, but who are not either employed or actively seeking employment. And
Right.
again, they may not be participating in this growth. I mean, that's a cause for some speculation there. Another perspective I think may be at play is there growing inequality in Barbados in that while the economy is growing, the number of players, sectors, persons in the economy who are benefiting that from that growth may not be as widespread as it was before, which may explain this seeming disconnect between this A plus report and the sense you are getting on the ground. It may very well be that there are some groups in Barbados, maybe people who are on relatively fixed incomes, their salaries, their pensions are relatively fixed. Prices have gone up significantly. You know, their fuel prices have gone up. They're paying the healthcare levy. They're paying VAT on their online transactions and so on. So for these persons, they are not feeling that growth. And maybe that is translating into some of the concerns around investment. Because again, if you look at the World Cup, big event, but in my sort of informal conversations, a number of corporate players are saying they didn't really feel this event. So I think one of the things we need to explore is the extent to which there may be some growing inequality in Barbados.
Really sincerely want to thank you so much for joining us this evening to share your perspectives.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Professor Justin Robinson.